Howdy, howdy again, nonverbal communication students. I have on a very special t-shirt at this point. I put it on purpose because it has a message to you, because I don't normally teach in t-shirts. Well, I did this summer. Okay, so here's my message. Keep calm and study. Ha! Yes, I got this t-shirt in England at Oxford University when I studied at Oxford University, which is the coolest place in the world. Okay, so we are talking about Chapter 5 in the Nonverbal Communication textbook. You've already hopefully seen the first part, and I stopped at sort of the height and weight and status area. So I want to pick this back up because it's an important topic, and it's huge. This is a huge chapter, and I think we all feel it. You know, we all feel some pressure about physical appearance to varying degrees. Some people, it's not that big a deal, but for a lot of us, I think we feel scrutiny and people judge us based on our looks. Duh, you know that if you got a pulse. You know that that's what happens. So I am picking it up back on about page 152 in our textbook, the chapter 5, and I'm starting with the section on the disabled body. Would you please read that? There's some very, very interesting research being done on persons with disabilities, how they communicate, how they are communicated to by others, the judgments that people make about persons with more obvious physical disabilities, like people in motorized scooters or in wheelchairs or on crutches, braces, okay? So please take a look at that, because we have to factor in all kinds of variables in terms of the nonverbal messages that are given by physical appearance, okay? On page 153, we get into skin color. That may interest some of you. We also talk about body smell. You're welcome. I'm not going to go there in this video. I am not talking about body smell over one of my teaching videos, but you can read it. Smell is actually called olfaction, O-L-F-A-C-T-I-O-N, olfaction. It's the study of the role of smell in human communication, human relationships. So it's a big area. It's just not one of my favorites for obvious reasons. So I'm moving on. Okay, we got a section on hair on page 155. I just had my hair kind of cut the other day. Were you like super bushy at one point when all the hair salons were shut down? People made they had some real oops moments by trying to cut their hair. I tried to one time across the back, and I was doing the thing with the mirror and the scissors, and very dangerous. I do not recommend that. So don't cut your own hair unless you really know what you're doing, because I've seen some funky looking home haircuts, right? Okay, so there's some stuff about long hair, short hair, beardedness, baldedness. A lot of these things are changing in terms of perceptions of people based on hairstyle, hair length, how much hair you have, if you have hair in all the wrong places. Okay, clothing. I just did a little clothing demonstration because I do love me some fun t-shirts, but clothing is a massive nonverbal channel of information. You know this. Sometimes if you want to start up a conversation with somebody and you're a little bit insecure about how to do that, one of the best ways is to pick up on something in a t-shirt that they're wearing, or some kind of something, maybe a hat. Maybe it's got an athletic team on there and you can relate to that. Sometimes it's a nice conversation starter to say, oh, that's a really cool book bag. I've not seen one like that. Or, oh, are you part of that club that's on your shirt? You know, sometimes it's just an icebreaker. You might make some new friends by kind of commenting on their clothing. So there are different functions of clothing, starting on page 157 in your textbook. There's a whole list. There's a 7-part list of the functions of clothing. Who knew? Well, I did, because I wrote the dadgum book. I am such a nut. Y'all know these teaching videos are crazy. Okay, so decoration is one. Protection. Did you ever think about that? That just your clothing protects your body. And some pieces of clothing protect your body better than others. And so that's the thing. Anyway, look at all that. We do convey status through our clothing choices, and that's kind of interesting. Some people are real into that. I'm not. Okay, on page 160, clothing and physical appearance is an expression of your culture, right? We do certain things because our culture has taught us that, or that makes us feel like a part of a society. And so we have some rules that we follow about clothing, and they're connected to culture. Okay? Artifacts is on page 161. You probably have not heard the term artifacts used the way we use it in nonverbal communication. You probably think of an artifact as like some fossil from an ancient Greek culture or something, and that's a cultural artifact. Well, what we're talking about here are all those appearance cues, nonverbal appearance cues, other than clothing. So this is like, am I wearing earrings today? Usually I have a watch on. I forgot it today because I'm at home and I can see my computer and see what time it is. A lot less people wear watches anymore because y'all got your phones and that's what you need. But anyway, jewelry, eyeglasses, cologne, perfume, makeup, okay, all that stuff. And we do get nonverbal signals. We get a sense of a person by, how many piercings do they have and where are they? I only have 2 piercings, one here and one there. It's really boring. So makeup, we do kind of get a read off of somebody sometimes if there's like too much makeup or it's really bizarre. And, of course, all these things have changed and will continue to change. It's way more acceptable now for men to wear makeup. I know a lot of men that wear, bronzers. They don't want to call it makeup. They just call it a bronzer. It's makeup. And, Clinique was the first company to come out with Clinique for men, with a line of products for men, and that was 20 years ago or more. And so I do see more men wearing makeup. I see trans persons that wear, a good deal of makeup, a lot more than I would. But hey, to each his own. Go for it. Do your thing, So the last section in this chapter is probably going to interest you the most, and it is on modifying the body. It is on cosmetic procedures, cosmetic products that enhance, I guess people see it as an enhancement, but ways that we can modify our bodies. And so we first talk about piercings, and way more acceptable than they used to be, more acceptable for men and for women than they used to be. And so talk about something that has changed. There's also a little bit of disturbing research, and I just want to kind of put it on your radar a little bit. There's been some research, particularly with high school age, adolescent, high school up to, the 20-somethings. Some people try to fix what they believe is wrong in their lives by getting additional piercings or more tattoos. And so there's been some research connected that is connected the adding on of piercings and tattoos to one's body. There's a connection there to depression and a connection to either suicide ideation, which means thinking about committing suicide, or actual suicide attempts. And so I just want you to be aware of that sometimes there are ways that we self-soothe or things that we do that we think will help fix our problems or our situation, and sometimes they do not. And piercings and tattoos are in that category, okay? For some people, certainly not for everybody. Take a look at the whole section on tattoos. We'll talk a little bit about this in one of my classes, depending on which class you're in, the day, the night, the Monday Marvel, the Wednesday Warrior, whatever class you're in, we'll talk about. There's some information about cosmetic surgery and procedures, and this changes a little bit every year in terms of which are the most sought after. Number 1, hadn't changed much, breast augmentation, breast enlargement. That we talk about on page 169. Liposuction still popular. You don't hear about that much, but that's that whole sucking the fat out of your body. Ugh, gives me the creeps. But some people, hey, that's their deal. So please take a look at that. And then the last section in this chapter is like all the rest of them after chapter 2, where we apply the reflexive cycle. So remember, the reflexive cycle starts with an inventory of self. This is a really hard thing to do, y'all, but you need to inventory yourself in terms of your physical appearance, clothing, artifacts, all these things, and what messages do you send through your physical appearance? Because you do send a ton of messages, whether you're aware of it or not. So I want you to inventory yourself physically, and then, do I have some changes to make? Then you want to inventory others, step 3 in the reflexive cycle, and maybe you interact with them and you affect them and they affect you, and then you, step 5, analyze, reassess, begin the whole process over again. Physical appearance is a bigger nonverbal communicator than I wish it was. I don't like living in a culture that emphasizes beauty and prizes beauty as much as we do in United States culture. I think it's a pressure that a lot of us feel, and I don't see a whole lot good coming out of it. So that's just my opinion. This is a tough chapter to talk about. It's one of my least favorite days in class when we talk about it, because we talk a lot about the pressure of it. So enough from me. Chapter 5 in the can, and I will be coming back to you very shortly. Take care. Take care, nonverbal students. Be safe. Bye.